It's Sunday night, and you're sitting at your kitchen table with your laptop open, a half-empty mug of tea going cold beside you, and that familiar knot of anxiety tightening in your chest. You've got a spreadsheet pulled up, rows and columns color-coded with the kind of precision that would make an accountant weep with joy. Rent, utilities, groceries, car payment, insurance, student loans, gas, subscriptions, every category mapped out, every dollar assigned a job. You've watched the YouTube videos, read the blog posts, downloaded the apps. This time, you tell yourself, this time it's going to work. This is the month you finally get your money under control. You punch in the numbers, your income at the top, expenses flowing down like a waterfall, and at the bottom, if you stick to this budget perfectly, you'll have $300 left over at the end of the month. $300 that you can finally put towards savings, or that emergency fund you've been meaning to build, or maybe even a small dent in that credit card balance that's been haunting you since last Christmas. You feel a surge of control, of hope, of "I've got this." You save the spreadsheet. You screenshot it and text it to your friend with a little flexed bicep emoji. You go to bed feeling like you've just cracked the code. Fast forward to Wednesday afternoon, 3 days later. You're at the grocery store because you ran out of milk and bread, and somehow you're standing at the register with $87 worth of groceries you didn't plan for. Thursday, your coworker's birthday lunch. Friday, your car makes that weird noise again and the mechanic says it's $180 to fix. Saturday, you're exhausted. You order takeout, $42 with tip. Sunday rolls around again, and you're staring at your bank account with that sinking feeling in your gut, watching your carefully constructed budget crumble like a sandcastle at high tide. The $300 you were supposed to save? Gone. You're actually $150 in the red. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, is that you don't even know where it all went. You just lived. You made normal, reasonable decisions, and somehow the budget that looked perfect on paper turned into confetti the moment it touched reality. And now you're sitting there thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I stick to this? Why does everyone else seem to have their act together while I'm over here failing at basic math? But here's what you don't know yet. Here's the secret that's going to change everything. You're not the problem. The budget is. You might think that budgeting fails because you lack discipline, or willpower, or some magical financial gene that successful people have and you don't. If you've ever felt like you're just bad with money, like you're fundamentally broken when it comes to managing dollars and cents, I need you to hear this. That's not what's happening here. The reason budgeting fails for roughly 90% of people who try it isn't because people are irresponsible or lazy or bad at math. It fails because traditional budgeting is based on a fundamentally flawed assumption about how human beings actually make decisions. Here's the perceived reality. If you create a detailed spending plan and commit to following it, you'll control your money and build wealth. Budgeting is the foundation of financial success. Everyone who's good with money has a budget. Therefore, if you're not good with money, you need a better budget and more discipline to stick to it. Here's the hidden reality. Traditional budgeting requires you to make dozens of perfect, rational micro-decisions every single day under conditions of uncertainty, stress, and emotional volatility, and then punishes you with guilt and failure when you inevitably make normal human decisions. It's not a financial system, it's a cognitive torture device disguised as a spreadsheet. Behavioral economists have known this for decades. There's a reason why study after study shows that 80–90% of people who create budgets either abandon them within the first month or continue maintaining them on paper while completely ignoring them in practice. It's not a discipline problem, it's a design problem. Traditional budgeting was built for a world where expenses were predictable, life was stable, and people made purely rational economic decisions. That world never existed. But especially now, in an era of variable gig income, subscription creep, algorithm-driven marketing, and life that throws curveballs faster than you can catch them, trying to budget the traditional way is like trying to navigate a hurricane with a paper map. If you've ever created a budget with total confidence, only to watch it explode by day 3, you're not failing at budgeting. Budgeting is failing you. And once you understand why, really understand the psychological traps and structural flaws, you can stop trying to force a broken system to work and start using a system that actually fits how humans operate. Let's talk about why budgets fail, and I'm going to give you 3 reasons that almost nobody discusses. Reason number 1, decision fatigue. Every single day, you make approximately 35,000 decisions. What to wear, what to eat, which route to take to work, whether to respond to that email now or later, whether to scroll Instagram or do the laundry. Your brain is a decision-making machine that's running at capacity from the moment you wake up. And here's the problem. Decision-making uses cognitive energy. It's a limited resource. Scientists call it ego depletion, and it's why you can be disciplined all day and then completely cave on a stupid purchase at 9 p.m. when your brain is exhausted. Now, add traditional budgeting to that equation. A typical budget requires you to make a financial decision at every single purchase. Is this in my budget? What category does this go under? Am I over on groceries this week? Can I move money from entertainment to food? Should I buy the name brand or generic? Is this really necessary? Every single purchase. You're turning every transaction into a mental negotiation with yourself. Let's say you make 20 purchases a week. Groceries, gas, coffee, lunch, random stuff. That's 80 financial micro-decisions per month on top of the 35,000 regular decisions you're already making. And here's the kicker. You have to make every single one of those decisions perfectly or the entire budget collapses. One mistake, one emotional purchase, one forgotten expense, one unexpected bill, and you're off track. You failed. The budget is broken. The whole system relied on you being a perfect decision-making robot, and you're not. Nobody is. You might be thinking, but isn't that just self-control? Shouldn't I be able to say no to things I don't need? Sure, in theory, but let me tell you about Jessica. Jessica is a 29-year-old teacher. She makes $48,000 a year. She created a detailed budget that allocated $300 a month for groceries, $50 for entertainment, $80 for gas, $40 for her phone, and so on. Very reasonable numbers. Week 1, she's crushing it. Week 2, her school has a staff lunch she didn't account for, $15. Not in the budget, but she can't be the only person who doesn't participate. Week 3, she gets a flat tire, $120 to replace. Not in the budget, but not optional. Week 4, her sister's birthday. She needs to buy a gift, $35. Not in the budget, but what's she supposed to do? Not acknowledge her own sister's birthday? None of these were irresponsible decisions. None of them were frivolous, but each one required Jessica to stop, recalculate, move money between categories, feel stressed and guilty about breaking her budget, and make another decision about whether to adjust the rest of the month or just let it go. By day 25, she's so mentally exhausted from managing this budget that she stops checking it entirely. It's easier to just not know than to watch it fall apart in real time. Reason number 2. Life is not linear, but budgets are. Traditional budgets assume your expenses will be the same every month. $300 for groceries, $80 for gas, $100 for utilities. Nice, clean, predictable numbers. But life isn't a straight line. It's a series of unpredictable spikes and valleys. Some months, nothing goes wrong. Other months, your car breaks down, your dog needs surgery, your water heater dies, your kid needs new shoes, and your friend's wedding is out of state. According to a study by the Federal Reserve, 40% of Americans couldn't cover a $400 emergency expense with cash. Not because they don't make enough money overall, but because our budgeting systems train us to allocate every dollar to regular, predictable expenses and then act surprised when life happens. Let me give you a real example with real math.
Let's say your monthly take-home pay is $3,500. You create a budget: $1,200 for rent, $400 for groceries, $300 for car payment, $150 for insurance, $100 for utilities, $80 for phone and internet, $200 for gas and miscellaneous, $50 for entertainment, and $500 toward debt. You've budgeted $2,980 of your $3,500 income. That leaves $520 for savings. Feels good, right?
Month 1, you get a parking ticket, $75, down to $445 in savings. Month 2, your dental cleaning reveals a cavity, $180 after insurance, down to $265. Month 3, your laptop starts dying. You need a new one for work, $800. You can't wait and save up, you need it now. You put it on a credit card. Your savings remains at $265, but now you're adding debt. Month 4, holiday season, gifts for family, $300, down to negative $35. You're in the red despite sticking to your budget on regular expenses. This is the trap. The budget only accounts for predictable expenses, but life is 60% predictable and 40% chaos. And when the chaos hits, the budget doesn't have a life happens category that actually works. You either blow the budget and feel like a failure, or you don't handle the emergency and let the problem get worse.
Reason number 3. Budgets make you focus on restriction instead of systems. Here's the psychological kill shot. Traditional budgeting is fundamentally about telling yourself no. No, you can't buy that. No, you're over budget. No, you didn't stick to the plan. It trains your brain to see money management as deprivation, restriction, and punishment. And what happens when you feel restricted and deprived? You rebel. You make emotional decisions to treat yourself because you've been so good all week. It's the exact same psychological pattern that makes diets fail. Think about it. Someone goes on a restrictive diet, eats nothing but salad and chicken for 2 weeks, feels miserable and deprived, then emotionally binge eats an entire pizza and a pint of ice cream because they deserve it after being so disciplined. The next day, they feel guilty, recommit to the diet, restrict again, and the cycle continues. Restriction triggers rebellion. This is human psychology 101.
Traditional budgeting does the exact same thing with money. You restrict yourself all month, deny small pleasures, track every penny with the vigilance of a prison warden, and then, often without even realizing it, you reward yourself with a purchase that blows the whole thing up. Or you just get so exhausted from the constant restriction that you stop caring entirely. The budget becomes one more thing you failed at, one more source of shame, and you avoid looking at your finances because it just makes you feel bad. You might be thinking, okay, but if budgeting doesn't work, what does? How do people who are good with money manage their finances? Great question. And here's where it gets interesting.
The people who are genuinely successful with money, not the ones who just post screenshots on Instagram, but the ones who actually build wealth and financial stability over time, they're not using traditional budgets. They're using systems that automate good behavior and eliminate the need for constant decision-making. Here's the secret. You can't rely on willpower and discipline because willpower and discipline are finite resources. But systems? Systems are infinite. Systems don't require you to be perfect. They work even when you're tired, stressed, emotional, or distracted. They remove the decision from the equation entirely. Think about it like this. If I asked you to do 100 push-ups a day and relied purely on your motivation and discipline to remember and execute them every single day for a year, you'd probably fail within a month. But if I paid you $10,000 at the end of the year and you had an app that automatically reminded you at the same time every day, tracked your progress, and made it so easy you'd feel weird not doing it, your odds of success just increased exponentially. Not because you became more disciplined,
but because the system reduced the friction and the decision-making load. The same principle applies to money. When you automate your finances, when you set up systems that make good behavior the path of least resistance, you stop relying on your exhausted, decision-fatigued brain to make perfect choices every single day. You build a framework that works with your psychology instead of against it.
So what does this actually look like? How do you manage your money if you're not budgeting? Here's the framework that actually works, and I'm going to give you a system you can implement literally today. The anti-budget system. Pay yourself first, then spend guilt-free. Here's how it works. Step 1. Calculate your 4 numbers. You need to know 4 numbers, and only 4 numbers.
Your after-tax monthly income, the number that actually hits your bank account, your fixed expenses, rent, car payment, insurance, minimum debt payments, things that don't change month to month. Your savings investment goal, 15 to 20% of your income if possible, even 10% or 5% if you're starting out. Your guilt-free spending number, everything left after numbers 2 and 3. Let's use a real example. Say you make $4,000 a month after taxes. Your fixed expenses are $2,200, rent, car, insurance, minimums. You want to save 15%, which is $600. That leaves you with $1,200 for guilt-free spending. That's groceries, gas, entertainment, eating out, random stuff, everything that's not fixed or saved. Step 2. Automate everything on payday. This is the non-negotiable part. The day you get paid, 3 things happen automatically. $600 goes directly into a separate savings or investment account. You never see it, you never touch it. It's not in your checking account, it doesn't exist as far as your spending brain is concerned. Your fixed expenses are either already on autopay or you pay them immediately. Rent, car, insurance, subscriptions, done. Out of sight. What's left in your checking account, the $1,200 in our example, is yours to spend however you want, guilt-free, no tracking, no categories, no spreadsheets. Step 3. Use the 1 account or 2 account method. Here's where people customize based on psychology. 1 account method. Keep that $1,200 in your checking account and spend it throughout the month. When it's gone, it's gone. Simple, visual, no tracking needed. You'll naturally start spending less toward the end of the month to avoid running out. 2 account method. Move your guilt-free money into a separate spending account. Your main checking account has a $0 balance, psychologically satisfying. Your spending account has $1,200. You use that for everything. When it hits $0, you stop spending. It creates a clean psychological boundary. Step 4. Build your Life Happens Fund. Remember how we talked about life being unpredictable? Here's how you handle it. Take that $600 you're automatically saving each month. For the first 3 to 6 months, put it entirely into a high-yield savings account. Not investments, this needs to be liquid and accessible. This becomes your emergency fund. Once you have $3,000 to $6,000 saved, depending on your expenses, then you start directing part of that $600 toward investments, while continuing to slowly build the emergency fund to a full 3 to 6 months of expenses. Now, when the car breaks down, when the cavity needs filling, when life happens, you don't blow your budget because you don't have a budget to blow. You have a system. You pull from the emergency fund and you replenish it over the next few months with your automated savings. The guilt disappears. The stress disappears. You've built flexibility into the system. Step 5. Increase your income, not your spending. Here's where wealth actually gets built. As your income increases, whether through raises, side hustles, promotions, or career changes, you don't increase your guilt-free spending proportionally. You increase your automated savings. If you get a $500 a month raise, don't bump your spending to $1,700. Keep it at $1,200, or increase it by $100 and put the other $400 directly into automated savings.
Now you're saving $1,000 a month instead of $600. Your lifestyle barely changed, but your wealth trajectory just doubled. This is the opposite of lifestyle inflation, and it's the secret that separates people who make good money and feel broke from people who make good money and actually build wealth.
You might be thinking, but what if I don't have $600 a month to save? What if I'm barely making ends meet right now? First, I get it. If you're in survival mode, if every dollar is already spoken for, this might feel out of reach, and that's real. But here's the thing. The system still works even if the numbers are smaller. If you can only save $50 a month, save $50 a month. The power isn't in the amount, it's in the automation and the psychology. You're training your brain to treat savings as non-negotiable, not as what's left over. And what's left over is always zero. Second, if you're in a position where there's truly nothing left to save, then the priority shifts from managing money to making more money. The system doesn't fix a fundamental income problem. But once you have even a small margin, once there's $50 or $100 of wiggle room, this system will make sure that margin turns into wealth instead of evaporating into forgotten purchases.
Look, here's the bottom line. You're not bad with money. You've just been using a system designed to make you fail. Traditional budgeting asks you to be perfect in an imperfect world, to make rational decisions when you're tired and stressed, to predict the unpredictable, and to white-knuckle your way through constant restriction without rebelling. It's not a sustainable system. It's a guilt factory. But this system works because it works with your psychology instead of against it. It removes decisions. It automates discipline. It builds in flexibility. It lets you spend without guilt because you've already taken care of your future self. And most importantly, it shifts your relationship with money from one of restriction and failure to one of control and freedom. So here's what I want you to do right now. Like, literally pause this video and do this. Open your banking app. Look at your last month's income and expenses. Calculate your 4 numbers. How much do you make? How much is fixed? How much can you save? How much is left for guilt-free spending? Write those numbers down. Then, set up one automatic transfer. Just one. Pick an amount. $50, $100, $200, whatever you can genuinely commit to, and schedule it to move from your checking account to a savings account the day after you get paid. That's it. That's the entire first step. You don't need a spreadsheet. You don't need an app. You don't need to track every purchase or categorize every dollar. You just need to make one decision. This money goes to future me, and then automate it so you never have to make that decision again. The people who build wealth aren't the ones with the most complex budgets or the most discipline. They're the ones who set up systems that make good behavior automatic, and then let those systems run in the background while they live their lives. You can be one of those people. You can start today. The only thing stopping you is the belief that you need a perfect budget and perfect discipline. You don't. You just need a system that actually works. Stop budgeting. Start building systems. Your future self will thank you.